There is footage, ladies and gentlemen. There is footage. Footage that the WWE did not intend for the public to see. Footage that captures a moment between two of the biggest names heading into WrestleMania, and it changes how you look at everything happening on your screens right now on Raw and SmackDown. CM Punk, Randy Orton, backstage. The cameras, viewers, were absolutely rolling. Now, stay with me through the first few minutes because the full context of what footage means and what it tells you about what is really happening backstage behind the scenes 3 weeks before WrestleMania 42, that is coming around the 4-minute mark. And trust me, you want to be here for that. There is also a rumor at the same time that we're doing this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, turn on all notifications. So important to hype up the video. A rumor about something that happened between these two men in 2026, just weeks away from WrestleMania. Something that has left people in the building talking, something that has not been reported anywhere else. That is also coming in this very report right here and right now. Now, before we get into the footage itself, I need to give you the full picture. Because this story does not start with what happened backstage this week. Oh, no, viewers. No. It goes further beyond that. It starts with a history between these two men, Randy Orton, the challenger to Cody Rhodes' undisputed WWE title, and CM Punk, the current reigning World Heavyweight Champion, that will be going against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. CM Punk and Randy Orton, guys, a history of these two men that goes back 15 years, including the new details we're going to give you during this very report. CM Punk and Randy Orton, two of the most decorated performers in the history of professional wrestling. Two men who have main evented WrestleMania. Two men who are on the same roster right now heading into the biggest show of the year. And two men who, by their own admission, no camera publicly, on WWE's own YouTube channel, could not stand each other. That is not speculation. That is not rumor. That is something both men have confirmed with their own words, their own sentiments. And here we are right now in 2026 with Randy Orton as the heel challenger to Cody Rhodes heading into WrestleMania 42 Night 1 and CM Punk as the World Heavyweight Champion against Roman Reigns Night 2, the real true main event. These two men are in the same building every single week. The same locker room, the same hallways, the same gorilla position. And the cameras, viewers, well, they're absolutely rolling. Now, stay with me because I need to give you one more layer of context before we get into the footage. And this layer, viewers, the history between these two is what makes what was caught on camera so significant heading into WrestleMania. Now, let me take you back for just a few moments to 2011, WrestleMania 27, Atlanta, Georgia. CM Punk versus Randy Orton, one of the most underrated WrestleMania matches of that era. But what happened around that match backstage is the part that nobody talks about enough. And that is why this new confrontation really plays into this match and what we're talking about and what we are creating during this here very video. These two men genuinely did not get along, not as a work, not as a storyline. We're talking real life. Behind the curtain, there was real friction between CM Punk and Randy Orton. And both of them confirmed this on WWE Playback, WWE's own YouTube series where talent sit down and watch their classic matches. Punk and Orton addressed it directly. Orton said, and I want to be precise here, he said, hate is a strong word. I have never hated you. I think I was the kind of person that had a backstage gimmick and I was trying to live it. I think I was just insecure. And Punk confirmed the animosity was real. He spoke publicly about how part of the reason they butted heads so often was because they are so much alike. Two alpha personalities, two men who operate on their own terms, two men who do not compromise easily. That dynamic never fully goes away, viewers, fans, and subscribers. And according to those in the know, you can make peace with someone, you can respect someone, but when two people with that kind of history end up in the same building under pressure just 3 weeks before WrestleMania in separate matches on separate nights, things can surface. And that is exactly what happened here, viewers, fans, and subscribers. Give me 90 more seconds because the specific moment I am about to describe, the moment caught, has more context to it than anything and anyone covering this story in this current time, and I'm giving it that kind of time. Ladies and gentlemen, Survivor Series 2023, Chicago, Illinois. Two of the biggest returns in recent WWE history happened on the same night. Randy Orton came back after a devastating back injury that was supposed to put him into retirement that kept him out for over a year. And CM Punk, after 10 years, ladies and gentlemen, after 10 years away from WWE, he made a shocking return to the company in front of his home city. The crowd in Chicago lost their minds for both moments. It was one of those electric nights. It was one of the most electric nights in recent WWE memory. But backstage, viewers, backstage in the gorilla position, something happened between these two men that WWE cameras captured. And that footage has only resurfaced in a way that has people talking. Because what was caught on that camera tells you something about the real relationship between CM Punk and Randy Orton. And that television product does not fully show you. Orton just had his moment. His comeback, his return to the ring after over a year away. And Punk was about to have his. And in that moment, in the gorilla position, Orton was caught on camera shouting. And what he said, and who he said it to, and what happened next, that is the full story, viewers. That is what we're going to get into. This is where it all happens. This is where it all starts. Stay with me because I'm going to tell you exactly what was on that camera, and then I'm going to tell you why it matters more now, 3 weeks before WrestleMania 42, than it did when it actually first happened. Now, here is what the camera captured. Randy Orton, gorilla position, Survivor Series 2023, Chicago, Illinois. CM Punk nearby, preparing for his return moment. Orton was caught on camera shouting directly at Punk. And these were his exact words. Hey, can I not enjoy 10 minutes of my return? Punk's response, calm, measured, unbothered. Everything is worth it. Just a brain on your purpose. And then the two men hugged and walked away. Now, on the surface, it might sound like it resolved very quickly. The two men had a tense moment and moved on, no big deal. But here is the one thing, and here's the exchange that nobody is fully unpacking. Randy Orton was frustrated that his return moment, a moment he had worked over a year to get back to, was being overshadowed. He was being overlooked. And the grand scheme of things, it was CM Punk walking over Randy Orton, and CM Punk was about to take the spotlight completely. Orton knew it. Punk knew it. Everyone in that gorilla position knew it. And the tension in those 10 words, hey, can I not enjoy my 10 minutes of my return, tells you everything about the dynamic between these two men that exists to this day. Because here is the question that nobody is asking right now. That was 2023. Well, this is 2026, some 3 years later. WrestleMania 42 is 3 weeks away. Orton is the heel. Punk is the champion on the other brand. They are in the same building every week. And sources close to the situation are suggesting that the tension between these two men has not gone away. Not that easy, not that fast. Instead, viewers, between Randy Orton and CM Punk, it has evolved going into WrestleMania. Now, stay with me because what I am about to tell you, what happened backstage between these two men in 2026, 3 weeks before WrestleMania, is the part that nobody has reported on yet. Now, let me tell you what is actually happening between CM Punk and Randy Orton in 2026, according to rumors and gossip online. Orton is the challenger to Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE title on night one. He is the heel. He turned on his former best friend. He is doing some of the best work of his entire career right now, is the Viper. Punk is the World Heavyweight Champion. He is the main event of WrestleMania 42, night 2, against Roman Reigns. He is at the absolute top of the card. And by all accounts, these two men are operating in very different headspaces heading into Las Vegas. Punk is focused, disciplined, and he has been here before, and he has lost everything due to injury. He knows what WrestleMania means, and he is not taking anything for granted. He is not taking anything lightly, not at this stage of his career. Orton is in character, the heel persona, the cold, calculated Viper who has burned every bridge around him, and sources suggest that the line between Randy Orton, the character, and Randy Orton, the person, has been blurring in recent weeks. And when you put those two men with that history, with those headspaces, with those stakes in the same building 3 weeks before WrestleMania 42, the cameras do not need to be in the right place to capture something real. It just needs to be on. And now I want to get into the part of the story that I have not seen picked up anywhere else. There is a rumor, and I want to be transparent with my viewers, my fans, and subscribers. There is a rumor. And it's coming from people whose information has been reliable in the past. And given everything I have just said about the history between these two men, it is a rumor that deserves to be taken seriously. And viewers, quite frankly, the rumor is this. In the weeks leading into WrestleMania 42 and the backstage creative plans becoming increasingly chaotic, with injuries changing plans multiple times, CM Punk and Randy Orton have found themselves in a situation that has created, again, friction. Here is the real backstage story that was actually confirmed according to those in the know. The original plan for WrestleMania 42 had CM Punk defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Braun Breaker. And Randy Orton was originally scheduled to face Cody Rhodes, but after WrestleMania, not at it, okay? Then Breaker got injured. Then Bronson Reed got injured. Plans changed 4 different times, according to Dave Meltzer. And then in that chaos, Orton got moved into the WrestleMania main event picture earlier than planned. And Punk ended up opposite Roman Reigns instead of Braun Breaker. Two alpha personalities, both had their WrestleMania plans rewritten around them multiple times. Both found out significant changes to their programs late. Both operating under enormous pressure just 3 weeks before the biggest show of the year. And sources suggest that during one of those weeks of creative chaos in a backstage corridor during a taping in WWE, CM Punk and Randy Orton could have had an exchange that left people in that building talking. Not a physical confrontation, not an altercation in the traditional sense, a conversation. A conversation between two men who knew that their WrestleMania situations had been scrambled. Two men with a documented history of friction. Two men who spoke and who operate in a very different way under pressure. Sources describe the exchange, well, as tense, pointed, the kind of conversation that does not raise voices but lowers the temperatures in a room. And the details that keep coming up, and when people who are nearby describe what they witnessed, is that it ended with Orton walking away and Punk standing completely still. Nobody intervened, nobody needed to, but everybody noticed. And in a locker room that is 3 weeks away from WrestleMania 42, where every relationship, every alliance, and every tension is under the microscope, ladies and gentlemen, it is absolutely under the radar. That kind of exchange does not go unnoticed, not by a long shot. What was said between them, the specifics of the conversation, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, at this time and at this moment, what went down, what was said, how heated did it get? That has not leaked yet. And it may never leak. But the fact that it happened, the fact that two of the biggest names heading into WrestleMania 42 had a moment backstage that left people talking. It raised the hairs on your back. That tells you everything you need to know about what is really happening in that locker room right now. 3 weeks before Las Vegas. The cameras caught one moment in 2023, but the backstage story between CM Punk and Randy Orton in 2026 is still being written. Now, viewers, I want to get into the last thing here, and stay with me for this because I think this is the actual takeaway. Professional wrestling in 2026, most notably WWE, operates on two levels simultaneously. There is what you see on screen, and here is what is actually happening in those buildings backstage. The camera footage from Survivor Series 2023, Orton shouting at Punk in the gorilla position, that is a real moment, unscripted, unplanned. Two men with real history having a real reaction to a real situation. And the fact that footage is circulating right now, 3 weeks before WrestleMania, tells you that WWE is very deliberately blurring the lines between the real and the scripted. Because the most compelling professional wrestling is always the stuff where you genuinely cannot tell the difference. CM Punk and Randy Orton are not scheduled to face each other at WrestleMania 42. They are on separate nights, separate title matches, separate stories. But the history between them, the gorilla moment, the WrestleMania 27 friction, the 2026 backstage exchange that left people talking, the two alpha personalities that have never fully resolved their tension, that history is in that building every single week. And 3 weeks before the biggest show of the year, with cameras rolling everywhere, all it takes is one moment, one real moment, and the wrestling world will be talking about it for years. Watch carefully, though, between now and WrestleMania, because I do not think that gorilla position footage was the last thing those cameras are going to catch. That is the full picture on the CM Punk and Randy Orton situation heading into WrestleMania 42. Real history, real tension, real footage, a 2026 backstage exchange that left people talking, and a WWE machine that knows exactly how to use all of it and all that build to the biggest show of the year. Now, however, I want to make this very clear. I want to stress this right now. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, and turn on all notifications. If anything develops between now and Las Vegas, you will hear it first. Full coverage continues right here on the Brash and the Brazen. We keep you in the know on the hottest, the latest, the greatest, the newest, the most definitive, and the most unapologetic. Because here on the show, we will be defiant, we will be thorough, we will be detailed, and we will give you the exclusives. Because we aim to be elusive right here on Sean's View Entertainment, where this will be the center of attention. Remember, we do multiple videos a day around the clock, and I will never stop for each and every one of you because I truly do believe in the viewers, the fans, and the subscribers that make this show what it is. Whose side are you on going into WrestleMania? Are you on the side of a CM Punk or are you on the side of a Randy Orton? And who ultimately is going to end up getting the better of this rivalry? Click the bell and subscribe because there is plenty more to come from the Brash One. Subscribe.